Why do you want to be governor of this state?
You know, I think we've done such tremendous work around issues of housing, around public safety, around trying to get a transformative economy going. We showed that you can move government even if you are pushing against the status quo wins. And now, since 2018 and this pandemic, we're steadily going in the direction that's harmful. And so, you know, I decided at some point, uh, you know, as public advocate, I'm so proud of the work that we've done passing more bills, you know, with the partnership with the city council than almost all the public advocates combined. We left city council listed as the most productive council member at the time, which is just I'm just so happy and honored by. But I said, you know what? Maybe I can get an opportunity not to advocate for the things that we know have to be moving forward, but to actually be able to do them. And the governor's job and the position gives you so many tools just to do the things that I've been advocating for on behalf of New Yorkers.
You know, you've been traveling the state. You know, a lot of people in New York City know you as, of course, the public advocate, and even prior to that, but you've been traveling the state, talking to people, getting to know them, finding out, you know, what's important to them. From when you talk to people around the state, what is important to them? What do they expect from their government, from their elected leaders, and how does that equal what you think you can offer them?
You know, there's a benefit that some electeds have and politicians have to creating this stark upstate, downstate divide. I will say this, there's obviously some differences in rural New York and even just upstate cities in New York. And they need to be honored, they need to be respected. They're beautiful, as a matter of fact. As I travel the state again, I fell in love with the state in 2018, and that hasn't left. But I will say, from Brooklyn, the Bronx to Buffalo, everybody is worried about housing. Where are they going to live? Are they going to afford to stay in their apartment? Are they going to get foreclosed on? Everybody's concerned about public safety. Everybody's worried about the transformative economy they're going to need to be able to pay for their housing, be able to pay for medicine, not have to choose that between housing. And they're clear that they have not gotten the relief they've wanted from Albany. And more people are clear that this governor is not doing it much better than the previous governor. In some cases, might actually, unfortunately, be doing worse. And they are clear that when they have a candidate like myself asking for $1 billion to be put into gun violence prevention and victim services, but you get $1 billion to the Buffalo Bills, there's a stark difference. And you know, I think folks are starting to see the difference in our campaigns. But I want to be very clear that many of the things that we're dealing with look different, but they fall under the same buckets. And people are struggling and they're not getting what they need from Albany. So Albany keeps just trying to do the same thing. That, you know, we keep saying we don't want to return to normal. We want to normalize people's lives, but normal is what got us here.
You know, if you get elected, I've asked you this before, what would be the first thing that you would do? But also, what's the first thing you need to do? And are those two the same topic, the same issue?
What Democrats are terrible at is discussing public safety. They do a terrible job. And so the people who then fill the void push forth even worse policies. And so this public safety concern that New Yorkers have is very real. I'm proud to have helped led New York City in policies and ideas that helped get us to where we were in 2018, which is the year that people now look at. And we said then, look, we are really safe right now. And what I learned is if you're a victim of crime, data means nothing to you. And so we have to be able to spread the message that we're going to keep you safe and help you feel safe. And we need a leader that can actually do both things. And I'm proud to have a history of actually getting that done, but we're moving in the wrong direction now. Housing, the housing plan that we have, it meets the moment. The housing plan that the governor has put forth and is proud of is terrible. We are now across the state facing over 200,000 evictions on top of the housing crisis that we already have. No money in the budget for housing vouchers, minimal money to help people not get foreclosed on. And these are two issues that we very much have to push forward at the forefront. And lastly, even some of the good things that are in this budget, they're in the out years, as we call them. So they're not this year, they're in year 2, 3, 4. If we don't raise revenue, then we are not going to actually be able to fund even the good things like daycare that are in there, because we're going to lose federal funding. And so you have to be able to raise funds to do that. And we're saying is the over 100 billionaires that live in New York State who made $225 billion over the course of this pandemic, they have to be the ones that we look at to be civically responsible in their funds because the rest of New York is suffering. And if we don't do that, it's not the billionaires and millionaires who are leaving, it is the people who can't afford to stay in New York.
I want you to answer this question not as a candidate, not as the public advocate, but as a New Yorker, as a husband, as a new father. What is the issue that keeps you up at night? Is it public safety? Is it housing, or is it something else? Is there what's the issue that really, worries you?
I think all of the issues that worry me, whether it's housing, whether it's mental health, the transformative economy, does kind of fold into public safety. And so public safety is of grave concern because one, we're not where we used to be. And I need folks to be clear. But again, that doesn't matter if it's you. But it does keep me up because what we're doing now is we are beginning to arrest the children of the people we arrested in the 90s. That's a horrible direction to go in. We should have learned the lessons. We should have a leader that can explain that we can't be looking at other states and their bail and their dangerousness because people don't realize that those states have cities that violence is actually worse than New York. And so what we should be looking at is what worked, what helped us get to 2018. Let's have that conversation around public safety because what we did in 94, we then apologized for 30 or 40 years later. And as you mentioned, I have a newborn, Amani Lysadora. It's amazing. And I don't want people to apologize to her 30 years from now when we have the opportunity to actually get it right, to make sure people are safe and they actually feel safe. We're not having success in doing that right now. And then we're going to over incarcerate the way we did before, won't solve the problem, create some other problems that we then have to apologize for. And I always want to be clear, none of this gives anyone an excuse to shoot up a block or a home or a child or a grandmother. There has to be accountability and consequences for that, period. But we can't continue to spend so much resources, energy on the consequences and accountability than we do in actually preventing it from happening in the first place. And what I do want to say and end with is our law enforcement right now are actually doing the job we asked them to do. They're risking their lives. They're getting a record number of guns off the streets last year and this year, record numbers. We should be asking the right questions, like why is it not moving through the court system, which is different, it has nothing to do with bail. And what we do when we ask the wrong questions is we're missing the opportunities to actually keep people safe.